Yeah, hey, Wood-psyche here. Hope everyone's doing okay. Yeah, I got a piece of cottonwood bark here from actually Nebraska. It's some chunks I've been looking at. So I want to see how they work out. I think they work out pretty fine on this. They're pretty cool. Yeah, I'm using the saber-tooth burrs on these. Like my newer ones I just bought, like a pack of 6. They're about $100. Just assorted style ones. This one's a spherical one. On an 1/8 inch shank with a Stylo plus going on. Yeah, it turned out total carve time I think on this one was like an hour, but I kind of shrunk it down. But yeah, it just happened pretty easily. It was no problems. There's a few cracks here and there and stuff I was concerned about, but if you carve deeper, they could tend to go away. So you get rid of all the surface imperfections. Yeah, I've noticed this bark from Nebraska tends to be a little bit denser and more compact. It's a little bit on the heavier side as well. It's not as airy as the stuff from I got from Illinois, but towards the end of the year, I'm going to be making a trip back east, so I'll be collecting a truckload of this stuff. So hopefully, if anyone's interested, I should have a shit ton of it by the end of the year. Just pencil in some reference marks for the where the eye placement is and the nose and mouth. Just gives me a general idea. Usually I don't do this on the initial startup. I just do a freestyle, then take it from there. And then when I get down into it, like here, I'll just throw some marks in. Yeah, this bark tends to be on a smaller size too as well. It's not as large as the Illinois style that I've seen. Maybe I got to look in a different place. Maybe I'll find bigger chunks when I go back to Nebraska. I think I'll spend more time though out there looking around. There's tons of it along the 80, so I'll be scouring that on the way back. Yeah, I'm using a pin vise here with a scribe just to gouge out the details too also. It also helps out where I need to work on the face, just identifies the areas and also kind of gouges out some areas. Basically, it's an 1/8 inch diameter piece of steel rod that I bought over at Home Depot. And I just ground down the ends into small tips. Made a custom scribe that fits in a pin vise that you can buy off eBay. Cheap pin vices for like $10 or something like that for a pack of 3. They come in three different sizes more or less. But yeah, those things give you a better grip on the piece of metal scribe that you're using. So yeah, another handy tool. Yeah, I'm using the Stylo Plus with a carbide burr just to define the areas now, make them more stand out. For example, the eyes right here, and then the mouth and the nose. They constant back and forth, with the burrs. I have to admit the lighting's not that spectacular here. It's outdoor ambient light. But since it's nice weather out, I decided to do some outdoor stuff. And yeah, sometimes being indoors is kind of confining as it is, shackled by four walls. But yeah, this tool is so light and portable, it's easy to use anywhere. You can use it with like an off-grid generator, no problem. Doesn't draw a lot of power at all. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get any pine knots recently, so I have to postpone my pine knot giveaway for a couple weeks. But no worries, I haven't forgot about it. It's just like I got like roped into some other things here, so so time's a bit limited for me at this moment for probably another 2 weeks. But after that, I think definitely have some new things coming out that I want to share with you guys. Some giveaways, more or less. So anyway, if you guys stay tuned, I'm sure you'll see what's coming up. Yeah, I'm using a few different scribe tools here. One's an owl, and then I go back to the regular pin vise here in a bit. But anyway, it's always good to diversify your tool set. So yeah, this one I kind of changed up because I didn't like the results of the tip on that previous owl. So yeah, I'm going back to the pin vise here. And yeah, you can create different tips and all that stuff. Pretty interesting what you could do with a piece of metal. I flipped it over on the blunt side now to give it for burnishing. Basically, you're like knocking down the sharp edges of the previous scribe work with a blunter end. So it gives it a more smoother, organic look. Natural look, if you want to call it that. But so yeah, this project is start to finish here. There's no other parts, so basically I finished the whole thing in about an hour. But I sped it up in post-production though, just for, you know, easeability and file size as well, since those long videos tend to get a little bit boggy down with the network and bandwidth. Plus also the attention spans are somewhat less these days. I get that. Everyone's in a fast-paced world these days. And it's like, it's no wonder the condition that we are in these days. Sometimes I don't like to be philosophical, but like it's kind of like the drive-up window syndrome. You get instant gratification. So basically, like when I speed up videos, it's kind of the same thing a little bit in some respects. Yeah, this guy has more of a stone face look on his face. He's more like a passive, non-emotion kind of look on his face. But I try to do capture his eyes though the best I can. And what I did with his pupils, I just got a small round carbide burr and just went to town on his eyes where his pupils would be. And then I'm using these diamond burr, it's a flame burr right here. Diamond burrs to smooth everything out because it seemed really kind of rough and I just wanted to give it more of a smoother look. more pleasing to the eye, perhaps. But yeah, there's diamond burrs come in handy quite often, and there's different coarse grades on those too as well. I think they got medium, fine, and then coarse, if I'm not mistaken, like 3 different kinds. And they're relatively inexpensive on the internet. As far as eBay goes, you could find some good deals on there. You know, you can't go wrong with them. It's kind of like Harbor Freight tools are notoriously cheap, and stuff like that. But these tools are the same way. But with burrs, you're not going to break these things like some things you break with Harbor Freight metal tools, unless you really abuse them. But yeah, and you just clean these things off. They get gummy after a while, especially with pine knots. They're more difficult to use. But when you want to clean these, just soak them in some kind of acetone or solvent, like rubbing alcohol is a good one. It's usually handy. It's usually a household item that's readily available. Soak them for a few minutes and then just put them back on the Dremel and then rotate them on a small wire brush. That's a welder's brush. Because the brass brush is less aggressive on your metal bits because it's a soft metal and doesn't scratch your burrs as much. So yeah, I covered some video way back about that. I had some nice tips pointed out to me from some users, and there's always different ways to skin a cat, more or less, So, but when it comes down to it, clean tools are essential when you're woodworking. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting it uphill battle trying to produce a piece of work that's just inundated with problems by dirty tools and stuff like that. Yeah, here I've been using a larger diameter spherical burr with the diamond burst kit. Just to smooth things out, and I switched over to this other funky looking bit. I don't know what kind to call it, but it's a tapered point end, and it's good for getting into smaller areas that you couldn't get in with the larger diameter spherical burr. So that's the reason why I switched over. But yeah, it's a constant back and forth kind of thing. Constant switching burrs. Kind of like paint brushes, probably. If you're painting a picture, you're always changing up. But if you can get away with one burr, for the majority of your work, it's less time changing bits. But normally, you want to use larger burrs for the beginning to remove the most material in the fastest amount of time. So after that, it's all downhill. You go down smaller bits for the smaller details. I've mentioned this so many times before, but I figured I'd say it again, but not to beat a dead horse constantly. But anyway, to anyone that's new on the scene, just to throw that point out. But yeah, it's like a top-down approach, I'd say, big to small. But there are times where you have to go back and go to the big stuff again, because you feel like maybe there's something that needs to be rapidly removed. You don't want to like tinker around all day with small burrs like that, because it does tend to be tedious and more time consuming. But when it comes down to details, you're always going to be benefited by the smaller burrs. Yeah, I also saw somewhere where people are using old used dental burrs to use them for woodworking. I guess like some dentists, like they have a certain lifespan on their burrs, but they still retain the workability aspect when it comes to wood, because they were using it for enamel teeth to redo people's teeth and stuff. But anyway, that's another thing to look into. I've always wanted to go check them out, but I haven't had the time. But I just thought I'd pass that one along too as well. And I think they use a lot of diamond burrs, to be honest, but I'm not sure. But some of those tools are high grade metal that the dentists use, so I'm sure when it comes to woodworking that they just make short work of it all. So yeah, I call this one a wrap. I think we're done. It looks kind of good the way it is. I could go farther, but I'll just keep it at that. But thanks to everyone for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Goodbye.